It's looking like the only way Paul Ryan will have lunch in the White House again is if President Obama invites him or if President Clinton invites him. The most recent losing vice presidential candidate, who will never be president, trails Hillary Clinton by 12 points in a new national presidential preference poll by Quinnipiac University. Hillary Clinton got 50% support when matched against Paul Ryan in the poll one-on-one. Ryan got 38%. But at least Ryan did better in that poll than Senator Marco Rubio, who trailed Hillary Clinton by 16 points. Hillary got 50% to Rubio's 34% when they were put one-on-one. And not surprisingly, the most popular Republican politician in America did better than any Republican, but Hillary Clinton still beat Chris Christie by 8 points, 45 to Christie's 37. When the poll matched Joe Biden against those same Republicans, he did not do as well. Biden beats Paul Ryan 45 to 42. Biden beats Rubio 45 to 38. But Biden came in 3 points behind Chris Christie at Christie's 43% to Joe Biden's 40%. Joining me now is MSNBC's Joy Reid. Also joining me, Politico's Maggie Haberman. Joy, it looks awfully good for a Clinton presidency when you look at those numbers at a very distant spot from 2016.
Yeah, I mean, even this far out, and of course it is very early, the Republicans have a lot of the same problem that they had before. I mean, if you look at their potential field, you know, it's Scott Walker, who doesn't have the self-awareness to know that he's not popular in Wisconsin. It's Paul Ryan, who, as you mentioned, was a losing vice president, doesn't augur well for being president. You know, it's Marco Rubio, whose calling card is that he can name rappers. You know, when we've got Rand Paul, who, you know, thinks it's great to do a Twitter filibuster, which is odd. It's just not a great field. You've got Chris Christie, who actually polls the best in that Quinnipiac poll that you showed, but the base doesn't want Chris Christie. He made the mistake of getting Barack Obama's cologne on him by hugging him. So they don't want him. And then you've got Marco Rubio, who, you know, I mean, I think I've already mentioned Marco Rubio. So it's just not a fantastic field. And Hillary's got name recognition, incredible popularity. She goes in as a huge favorite.
Maggie, Peter Brown from Quinnipiac made this statement along with a poll. He said, it's worth noting that Hillary had very good poll numbers in 2006, looking toward the 2008 election before she faced relative unknown Barack Obama. So there is something to that.
Oh, there's a lot to that. You know, I remember a Clinton aide telling me in about April of 2007 that Barack Obama shouldn't have run this time. And clearly that was not the case. So it's very easy to say right now that she's field clearing, not just for the Democratic primary, which I do think she probably is, although Martin O'Malley was sort of indicating otherwise in an interview recently. It's another thing to say that there is no way that she can beat a Republican challenger. A lot of this is going to depend on what the country looks like, what the country wants, what the economy is like. Her argument is going to have to be essentially for Barack Obama's third term. It's going to be pretty hard for her to argue that she would be a different kind of Democrat. She served in his cabinet. It's also hard for her to argue that she is the future. She's going to be approaching 70 years old. So we don't quite know right now what the experience factor is going to matter for voters. Barack Obama did not have the experience we were all told everybody needed. He's been elected twice now. So it just depends on where the country is.
Joy, what is the calculation for other Democratic presidential candidates like Andrew Cuomo or Martin O'Malley, these very successful Democratic governors? Do they get into it thinking, I'm running for vice president. I'm going to do the Biden model. I'm not going to take any big swings at Hillary.
Right.
If she stumbles, if there's a big screw up on the Hillary end of the campaign somehow, I will be standing here ready to accept the nomination. I mean, I can't imagine with Hillary Clinton up there in a Democratic primary debate with people like Andrew Cuomo and Martin O'Malley and possibly others, that anybody would really be taking any real shot at Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and you know what, Lawrence, it's so difficult, too, because, first of all, she's a woman. Maggie mentioned her age. You're really looking at a difficult debate against her anyway, just based on those demographic factors. Women will be watching to see how she's treated by them. And at the same time, as you said, you wouldn't want to alienate her base. Look, I think presidential elections are a lot about a moment. There's a moment when the country wants a certain thing, and it doesn't matter if the person isn't experienced enough or isn't well known enough. Barack Obama rode that moment when change and changing even the demographic democratic look of the president was very important. There is a tremendous hunger in Hillary land, a tremendous hunger among women for that moment to be the 2016 election for women. And any man running against her is going to have to also run against that moment.
Maggie, it seems that that dynamic I was just describing, we were just talking about, would also lead to what you would call, some might call, a very positive Democratic campaign, meaning Andrew Cuomo's job on the debate stage is to make the case for him, not the case against one of the other candidates.
Without a doubt. I would say, though, that of the people that you've named who could run against her, Andrew Cuomo, I think, is the least likely to run against her. He considers Bill Clinton his political mentor. He also, is relatively young. He could run if she were to lose. If she ran and then lost in 2016, he could run in 2020. I think he is much more focused right now, genuinely, on his reelection, and I think that he would not run. O'Malley, I'm less certain. I think O'Malley is likelier to stay in it and possibly have the prospect of being a vice presidential nominee on a Clinton ticket. But I agree absolutely with you. I agree with Joy that, if you are having that onstage moment, it's worth remembering that Hillary Clinton became senator in no small measure because Rick Lazio in 2000 walked over to her podium waving a soft money pledge and saying, sign it, and pointing at her. It was a really powerful moment, and there is a definite dynamic there. However, Barack Obama survived it. Other candidates survived it in 2008, so we'll see.
And Joy, Andrew Cuomo is the only candidate in the mix here who has the problem of he couldn't be selected as Hillary Clinton's vice president unless she moves back to Arkansas, since he can't come from the same state as the nominee for president. And so he's got a different calculation from the rest of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Rubio-Jeb Bush problem on the other side of the aisle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think, the other issue, too, is that none of these candidates is going to have the experience doing the very difficult job of running for president. It really is difficult. And Hillary Clinton will be doing at least the primary portion of it for the second time. So she'll have a tremendous advantage in every way. And I think Andrew Cuomo has some other issues, too. I mean, he's taken some positions Democrats haven't exactly been thrilled with in New York. He hasn't necessarily been doctrinaire on issues Democrats care about. But on the other side, I think he's been very proactive on things like guns. So it'll be interesting. And I think it's worthwhile to have a robust primary, in part because if, let's say, Hillary Clinton were to run and lose, these other guys would then be testing themselves out and setting themselves up to try to run in 2020.
Joy Reid and Maggie Haberman, thank you both for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We do not give up. Expect surprises. Subscribe.